There are so very many things this family has made me question about life. No, you might be like, yeah, after seeing these videos, there's definitely a lot of questions I have for your family. I mean, not everything they've made me question is about them specifically, just, most of it.
When someone meets my family, they inevitably ask, "How are you, you?" Why is that, you ask? Have I got a story for you?
Okay, so for those of you that don't know, I'm an atheist currently, but I grew up Catholic. My family's Catholic. My mom forced me to go to church and Sunday school. Originally, it was until I graduated high school, and then because I graduated high school and I was still 17, she was like, no, you can't decide until you're 18. Like, choosing to believe in God is something that you do, like, as if it were something that you do, and like you can't make a full decision on it until you're an adult. I don't know what it was. My dad doesn't give a shit, as really only cares about two things anyway, and you guys know that already. He cares about porn, he cares about money. If it's neither of those things, doesn't care. Not a thing. My mom would be so mad when I would go live with him for the summer, and for a while he's making me go to church, and then after a while he was like, why? Why are we going to church? This is a waste of time, and it's hard to get there because, as you know, he doesn't drive. So we'd have to call someone to drive us there, or we'd walk, which is just, oh, no one wants to walk like 7 miles to church. Okay? No, nobody wants that. No, 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 no. My mom would get mad. And one of like the first memories I have of being in the church was when I was really little. Well, I don't know. I was definitely less than 10. I remember sitting in church with my mom, and her being the devout, Christian that she is. She's very prim and proper. And as you know, her greatest fear of all time, is having other people think poorly of her. And while I was sitting in church, they were about to do the offering. And I, being little, and I guess kind of an inquisitive nature, I was just sitting there like, I don't understand how this works. And I don't understand why we hand money to these people. So I kind of looked up at my mom and I was like, Ma, how come we give the church money? And I wasn't coming from a bad place. Like, my intention was not to offend anyone. And I don't think if a little kid looked up at you and said it in that particular tone that you would be offended by it. But as you can guess from me slowing down the story, my mother was incredibly offended by this. And she was like, huh, 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 because! And, when you're in church, you're supposed to be quiet. She was no longer quiet. So it was kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy for her. Now people were looking at her and thinking poorly of her because she's yelling at her son in church. To be fair, I've done some pretty bad things in church. Well, relatively speaking, not like I've done awful things, but I do have a habit I did have a habit of burping a lot in church. I don't know why. I just get gassy when I'm in a church. It's just a thing that happens, and I would spend like the entirety of church burping. Which you might be like, "Are you sure you weren't hiccuping?" No, I know when I'm burping, and I can make myself burp. So I would just make myself burp for the entire time, because otherwise I'd be asleep, and that would be offensive to everybody if I just take a nap in the church. Obviously, I'm not there for the Lord. It's just not something I want. But I still to this day do not know why my mother was so offended that I would ask a question. How was I supposed to know that, churches don't make money by themselves and that they're kept up by their communities? Like, kid doesn't know that. I basically had to research it myself, but I don't understand why that would be offensive. I still to this day don't understand why she saw that as so incredibly offensive. I asked a legitimate question. If you wanted to be like, oh, well, I can't tell you now because we're in church and we're supposed to be quiet, you could have been like, I'll tell you later. It's okay. But I still don't know to this day why she was so offended that I would ask why churches collect money from churchgoers. I turned into Donkey Kong there. However, let's get back onto the topic of my father. He makes me question many things about the world. Now, you know the only two things he cares about, really. He just has a strange view of the world in general. He called me a couple times recently. He generally only calls when he's going on vacation to tell you that he's going on vacation, which I don't. Teth described it as, oh, he calls you to tell you he's spending money on things that aren't you. And I'm like, yeah, that could do. And then he calls on holidays, but not all holidays, just like the really important ones. Like he'll call on Christmas and Thanksgiving and stuff. And this year he called me on New Year's, and I was like, that's really weird. He doesn't usually call on New Year's. And his call this year, I was like, oh, that's really cool. Maybe we finally bonded. We've understood one another on a level, because I finally got him to actually listen to what I was saying on the phone. Because normally when he calls you, he just talks at you and he doesn't give a shit about what you have to say anyway. But lately, because I've been making money on eBay, we finally have something to talk about, because all he cares about is money and porn. So he called me and we're talking, and I'm like, wow, this is really cool. I can finally connect with my father on some kind of level. This is kind of cool. And then I realized, no, he had called me to make sure that nobody stole the present I had gotten for him, because it still hadn't arrived yet. And I was like, oh, okay. See, that makes sense. I understand why you called me now. That would be losing money, and that would be bad. I get it. He's very convinced someone's going to go to his house and steal a comic book. No, I don't. I really doubt it. He lives in a senior citizen community trailer park. What other, like, there's no, like, backwards cap wearing, skateboard riding old men in there. Like, I'm not worried about people stealing your stuff, Dad. But the phone call he had made before that, we were talking about how my mom was going to visit favorite child in Arizona. And he was like, well, you're going to be very lonely while she's gone, so you should come down and visit me. And now, I don't know if you guys are on the same page as me, but in this case, my page is, I don't think you understand how this works. When you guys are gone, I'm happy. Why would I want to go to Florida? I hate Florida. Why? When I have a chance to be happy here and do work and not, like, be bothered by people. I'm sure the Banshee will come over all the time anyway, but why would I want to go all the way down there and hang out with you? I don't understand this view of the world you have, where I am sad and lonely while you guys are gone. I don't understand! Thanks, camera, for your focusing bullshit. Back on track? I have a lot of questions about the game of baseball. As you may have guessed, my family's not that into sports, but we're all sort of Yankees fans. Like, I'll watch if it's on. But as you can tell, I really don't care about sports unless they're arcade sports. Or those ridiculous sports that you see on late night TV, like the basketball with the trampoline. That's amazing. If I could be a pro athlete, it would be in that sport. Just, whee! Doing flips and shit, slam dunking. That looks like a lot of fun. There's also a volleyball game that takes place in basically a bouncy castle as the court. And that's awesome. That's also an awesome sport. Or weird shit like Windjammers. Windjammers is awesome. Combat Frisbee, yes, I'm in. But regular sports, not so much. One of the biggest questions about my whole life. I grew up, in my neighborhood growing up, there was a lot of kids concentrated on the block, and we would go outside and play games together and stuff. And that was really cool. I don't think a lot of kids nowadays have that kind of relationship with people around them. Like, I'm pretty sure since I moved here that the kids who live like 3 houses down from each other have no idea who one another is. Like, they've never met, they never hung out. And I feel like that's becoming more and more common. But when I was growing up, there were lots of people to hang out with and play with. I mean, it also depends on, where you go to school and what have you. School is a really important factor in adolescent development and like social development and making friends and stuff like that. So like me, I didn't go to school here. I know no one. I mean, I'm sure the kids growing up here know one another if they go to the same school, but I don't think they go out of their way to meet people in the neighborhood. I don't think that's a thing anymore. At least not in New York. I'm sure down south and a bit further west, it's more of a thing. But in New York, that's not really a thing anymore. Anyway, I used to play baseball a lot. My dad's younger brother, I don't know why I described it like that. The only brother you need to know about that you would care about at all. So I don't really need to differentiate them. My uncle, my dad's brother, not my bumbling uncle who broke into my house and broke into my old house with my grandpa. My family's pretty weird, but my uncle on my dad's side, he loves baseball. He loves baseball. And he loves the Yankees. Our family's pretty much almost all Yankees fans. And then we have the favorite child for some reason likes the Mets. And one of my cousins, one of my mom's brother's sons likes the Mets also. We don't know where they came from or why. I get a lot of people are like, you could like the Yankees. Anyone could like the Yankees because they always win. It takes someone special to like the Mets because they always lose. But whatever, to each their own. When I was little, my uncle, my dad's brother, he's the cool uncle in the family. Like, whatever you want to do, he'll be there. He'll make it fun. And he's a cool uncle and he really loves baseball. We were playing baseball in my yard growing up one time. And to this day, my mom insists it never happened. But I saw it happen. It could be sleight of hand. He could have done something. But I'm pretty sure it was not sleight of hand. I'm pretty sure my uncle is just fucking amazing. And my mom's like, no, it's not possible. So my question is, how did he do this? We're playing baseball in my front yard when I'm young. He's pitching. He pitches the ball to me. I hit it. I suck at hitting the ball. Like, for some reason, I cannot keep my eye on the ball. I don't know why. I never pay attention to the ball at all. And I happened to hit it that time. And I swear to you, this is what happened. I hit the ball. Pop fly. It goes straight up, right? Ball goes straight up in the air. Sails over. My uncle takes off his mitt. Throws his mitt into the air. Keep it with me. Throws his mitt into the air. The ball hits the mitt. It falls, and he catches the mitt and puts it on. In my head, the memory that replays is that he threw the mitt up in the air. Ball hit it. It falls down onto his hand, but I know that's very implausible, and I know memories are sort of malleable. So I'm going to not say it fell right on his hand, just that he caught the mitt with the ball in it in his hand and then slipped his hand into it. And in like one fluid motion, like he had the wherewithal once the ball went up, ball went straight up. He was just like, caught the ball in the mitt, then caught the mitt, had the mitt on. And to this day, I don't understand how anyone can do that unless they're the Flash and they can think in like an attosecond. I don't understand how that happened. I also had many other weird questions about baseball. Like, we had a girl up the street who used to hang out with us, and then she just fucking disappeared one year. And I think I've talked about this before, but she used to come over all the time and be like, can we play baseball? And one time my sisters were home, and I was like, oh, why does she always ask to play baseball? She sucks at it. And you might have guessed from previous stories that I'm really oblivious. Like, I don't get anything when people are, making moves towards me and what have you. I don't get it. And my sisters were like, did you know that you're an idiot because she likes you? And I was like, now that you mention it, that would explain a lot. And then a couple weeks later, I think, she was like, I need to get something off my chest. And I was like, oh, what did you do? And she was like, I like you. And then she fucking disappeared. I literally never saw her again. Like, her family moved. I was like, where did they go? And then I happened to see her at I went to Knox's graduation, and she was there. And I saw her, and I was like, hey. And she was like, hey, what are you doing here? And then she fucking disappeared again. This is an exaggeration, but what happened was, what are you doing here? And I was like, no, what are you doing here? And then, and she was gone. She just threw that, didn't see her again. She's a master at disappearing. I haven't seen or heard from her since that day. It's just like, where did she go? The other weird thing about baseball is that I still don't understand when I'm taking the field. We played a lot of Little League. My mom insisted that I play like every sport. And as you may guess, not a big fan of sports. Sports mean nothing to me. But I had Knox was on our baseball team, our Little League team. Crazy Bacon was on our Little League team, and then Crazy Bacon's dad became the coach, and that was awesome. But before Crazy Bacon's dad was the coach, me and Knox were there, because I wasn't really friends with Crazy Bacon, who's my current best friend, until a little bit after Little League. So he was on the team, but I didn't really talk to him. Whatever, I was on the team with Knox. Knox and I didn't give a flying fuck about baseball at the time. And to this day, when I'm taking the field and they're like, take right field, take left field, I don't know which is which, because I don't know what perspective I'm supposed to be looking at the field. So I would just kind of wander out into the outfield and look for the open spot and just take a guess as to where I should be. I don't know why. Like, if I see a baseball game going on, I know where right and left field are. But once I put my foot on the field, I'm like, who's right? There's a lot of people on the field right now. Is it my right? Is it his right? I don't know where to go. I honestly don't know where to go for some stupid reason. Also, we didn't give a shit about baseball. Number one, because we just didn't give a shit. But second, there were always bees on the field, and neither of us wanted to get stung. So we spent the entire games, most of the time, if we were in the outfield, running away from bees. And so, like, balls would come towards us, and we'd be like, ah, bees! And the two of us would be running around in the outfield, trying to not get stung. And my family still makes fun of it to this day. They're like, you guys, you never paid attention to the ball. I don't want to get stung! I still haven't been stung to this day, and I want to keep it that way. I only really started to care about baseball when they made me the pitcher, because that's a cool position to me. Like, that made sense to me. When I was little, I had impeccable aim and speed and control, and then my arms started to get all fucked up, and we didn't know why until many, many, many years later when we found out I had the bone cyst up here. And, I mean, I still have the bone cyst. I made it sound like it went away. No, my arm broke, and it's smaller, but it's still there. And because of that cyst, like, it hurts a lot, and I have no control in my right arm. Nowhere near what it used to be. But when they made me the pitcher, I got to pitch like 2 games, and then they brought in the pitching machine. So I was just standing there behind the pitching machine. I was like, why do you, like, I don't understand why you maintain this position if no one can play it. Robot took my job. A robot took my job, and I was only like 12. That's rude. Imagine what the future of this country is going to be like. However, in recent years, the biggest question I have, the question that I think about almost every day is, okay, so let me rewind. To start this question off, my mom had to go in for a procedure. I believe it was a colonoscopy. Not 100% sure. Pretty sure it was, because it's the one where you can't, like, eat or drink anything but that weird colored fluid for a long time. So I drove her there, and I was supposed to drive her out. And I drove her to the place, and it was a place we'd never been to before. So I'm sitting in the waiting room by myself. It's like all old people around me. And this one lady comes in, probably middle-aged, kind of big lady. She comes into the waiting room. And I've been there a while, my mom's been in there. We were waiting for a really long time, because, you know, doctor's offices, they always make you come in what seems like 2 hours early for no reason, because they're never ready on time. So we sat there for a while, then my mom finally went in. Then I'm sitting there for a while, and this lady comes in. Everyone else is kind of normal, like, listen to the conversations. If you haven't guessed this yet, I really like to eavesdrop. And I'm relatively good at eavesdropping as well, so I can probably pick out all the conversations in a room, at least one by one. And I usually try and keep up with them as well. So this lady, she comes in. Everyone else is kind of normal. She rounds the corner into the waiting room, and she makes a beeline for the window. And I'm like, okay, she likes a window seat. She's probably going to read a book, doesn't want to be bothered, but wants the view and stuff. Now, mind you, the window seat is facing away from the direction the chair, like the window is facing, it's the opposite direction. The chairs are facing inwards towards the room. Window's here. This lady pulls the chair out of the corner of the room, turns it around, looks out the window. But it's the chair in the corner, so it's not actually looking out the window. There's still wall there. Like it's a little bit of wall, and then the window. Her chair is here, in front of the wall. And I'm like, okay, that's odd. She's just in here facing the wall. And now, she sits down for a little while. She's fine. She doesn't pick up a magazine or anything. She's not talking to anybody. She's just in there staring at the wall like she's on timeout. And then, here's where the questioning starts. This lady, middle-aged woman, really big lady, definitely obese, not sure if in the range of morbidly obese, comes to the waiting room, public place, stares at the wall. That's weird in and of itself, but the real questions come now. Because about 5 minutes into her staring at the wall, the noises started. And I'm not talking about like, oh, pain noises. No, this middle-aged fat woman who came into the waiting room of a public space and is staring at the wall like she's on timeout starts to go, ah! Ah! Oh! And at this point, everyone else in the waiting room, none of the other conversations are going on. Everyone is just staring at this lady. Fat middle-aged woman staring at the wall, making sex noises, occasionally shaking in her chair. We've all got questions now, and now you do too. First of all, what is wrong with her? My mom came in for a colonoscopy. I'm pretty sure it's all old people here. They're in for other similar procedures for old people. What is her procedure? What is happening to her? Why is she sitting in the corner going, oh, yeah? And it's not like, I'm not exaggerating here in the fact that it wasn't like she was mumbling them under her breath or she was making like low noises. No, she's loud. Her conversation, well, her conversation with her genitals, I guess, I don't know, would have definitely overshadowed 80 to 90% of the conversations that were already going on in the waiting room at that time. But she kept going. It wasn't like she just did it once or twice and then she noticed everyone was watching. She didn't give a fuck about anyone who wasn't the wall. That's all she stared at. She never turned her head. It was just, ah, 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 ah. And you really, even in a room full of polite old people who probably are somewhat racist and what have you, you know, the usual for old people in this country, they're not gonna keep talking over that. Like one old lady in the corner tried to keep having a normal conversation to try and normalize the room, but you can't have a normal conversation when there's someone staring at the wall sounding like they're being railed very pleasurably. Like you can't be like, oh, the weather today is great, when on the side someone's all, oh, yeah, oh, you just can't. The weather will never outshine those noises. And I still to this day have so many questions for this woman. What's wrong with you? Or what's right with you? I don't know. You seem like you're having a lot of fun in the corner. What?
Hey there, guys and gals. Thanks so much for watching, as always. If you click the link on the left, you'll be taken to the previous episode. If you click the link on the right, you'll be taken to the playlist, where you can watch them all.